For now, though, for one day, the Panthers turned it around. We thought they were tanking. I mean, they trade Christian McCaffrey away. And as of yesterday morning, the Sunday Splash report from Shefty, oh, they won't trade DJ Moore, Brian Burns, Derek Brown, or J.C. Horn. Those 4 players aren't untradeable. Sims and I will discuss later in the week the players that currently are truly untradeable. There aren't many at any given time. Any of those 4 players, there's an offer that can be made that would get the Panthers to say, yes, they are not untouchable. That's just put out there so other teams who think it's fire sale time and we're gonna get these players for peanuts realize that's not the case. You want them, you got to give us significant trade assets because, they're just kind of sinking slowly into the hot bath of tanking. Well, enter Steve Wilks, who had something to say about that yesterday. Here he is on overcoming the adversity that was built in by the fact that they traded away one of their best players last Thursday to the 49ers.
Extremely proud of the men in that locker room. I just told them that they continue to impress me by the way they just overcome adversity and circle the wagons and come together. And that definitely wasn't a team out there today was trying to tank it.
No, and see, this is the way Tank Club works. First rule of Tank Club is you never talk about Tank Club. Second rule of Tank Club is you never let anyone know who's actually out there doing the tanking that they're supposed to lose. You deliberately put people in a position to compete knowing that there's a pretty good chance nature is going to take its course and it's just not going to work. Well, Steve Wilks, who, and we said this 2 weeks ago when Matt Rule got fired. I mean, Steve Wilks already has a bad permanent record from being stuck with whatever that year was in 2018 with Arizona when it looked like they weren't trying to win, when the GM was suspended and, the head coach is already operating with one arm tied behind his back and it's just a mess for everybody. And then he gets rewarded for sticking it out by getting fired for a mediocre college football coach. And let's call it what it is. That's what Cliff Kingsbury was. It was so stunning that multiple teams wanted this guy who was a mediocre college football coach. And
who
now
got
Steve
fired.
Who got fired by Texas Tech.
Yeah.
By Texas Tech.
And was the offensive coordinator at USC for 5 minutes and then fell up into the Arizona Cardinals job. Yeah. And got extended through 2027. But at least he won this week. Sorry. Continue with your point, Mike.
We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But maybe it won't go well. But the point is, Steve Wilks doesn't want to hear any of that crap. Steve Wilks is coaching a football team, and I asked him yesterday. He was awesome after the game.
Yeah.
I asked him, what do you have to do to get this job? Incredible was the word from David Tepper. What's it take? You got to finish above 500. You got to get the playoffs. He's like, I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about one game at a time. 1 week at a time. We got 3 straight divisional opponents. We've already beaten one of them. I've told my players we can do this. And the thing on Christian McCaffrey, I said this last night on Football Night in America, because one of the challenges of Sunday afternoon, and this is the ultimate first world problem, when you talk to a head coach and he says a lot of great stuff, you got to figure out the best stuff to wedge into the time that you have to talk about it. And the one thing that really stood out to me when I looked back at the notes and the transcript, my son does a great job of turning around and typing it up for me so I can make these decisions in real time of what I want to share with everyone. I'll get to the point at some point. But with Christian McCaffrey gone, it didn't bother Steve Wilks. I mean, yes, you don't want to say goodbye to one of your best players, but he knew what they had in Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard. Even though Foreman had 6 carries in 6 games, Hubbard had 6 carries in 6 games, Wilks is there to see them in practice, to see them in the preseason, to know who they are as men, to know whether or not they can be trusted to step up. So it could be a situation where ownership's like, well, we got to do what's in the best interest of the team, understanding that this is just a natural way to sink to the bottom of the standings and rise to the top of the draft order, because with that first overall pick in the draft, you can attract any coach you want. You can pick your quarterback coming through the door, Sean Payton, whatever you want to do. Wilks knows I can trust Foreman and Hubbard to get it done, and that's what he told me. I knew they'd step up. And then P.J. Walker, hey, other thing Wilks said, He's not closing the door on Walker keeping the job, even when Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold are healthy. P.J. Walker was phenomenal yesterday. So I love something unexpected like this. This was completely unexpected, and it does put the Panthers back in play, even if it's just for a week. We'll see what they do against the Falcons. It's all irrelevant if they get blown off the field by the Falcons. But the Falcons are on notice. It's not a cream puff game next week, Myles.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you talk about PJ Walker, and I love this stat that we've got here on our sheet. But over the last 48 games, the Panthers are 3-1 when PJ Walker starts, and 9-35 with everybody else. So, hey, man, you talk about QB wins. It's something that PJ Walker's done. He's helped lead them to win. So I don't know if I would go with phenomenal for my assessment of PJ Walker yesterday. That throw we just showed right there, that was a pretty darn good throw, though, when it comes to that touchdown pass. But they could do something maybe, I guess, unexpected when you're talking about quarterbacks by sticking with PJ Walker. I mean, who would you rather have at this point? I mean, you know what Baker Mayfield is. You know what Sam Darnold is. PJ Walker is at least having you be a little bit more competitive out there, And so instead of these crap, top 10 QBs that Steve Wilks has always been saddled with Josh Rosen in 18, and then Baker Mayfield, obviously now, and Sam Darnold still on that team too in Carolina, why not go with PJ Walker? What do you have to lose?
This whole debate as to whether or not quarterback wins are a stat, I don't know what I would call them, but the reality is certain quarterbacks can help you win and certain quarterbacks can help you lose. And if a quarterback provides a lift, a spark, accountability, leadership, why do you think Tom Brady was yelling at his offensive linemen last week? He explained to Jim Gray in the Let's Go podcast, which may be even more compelling tonight than ever before given yesterday's performance, but that's his job. That's what the quarterback does. The running back doesn't go over and yell at the offensive lineman. The receiver doesn't do it. The quarterback does it. The quarterback is an extension of the coaching staff. The quarterback is basically a coach with credibility because he's wearing the uniform. He's out there on the field side by side. So he has a level of authority over and above a normal player, and what he does or doesn't do with it is relevant to the cause. Is it on him and the rest of the team sucks? The Archie Manning dynamic? I get that. There's a certain point where there's nothing you can do to make the guys around you better. But in some circumstances, that quarterback can take a team that was destined to lose and make it a winner, or a team that was good enough to win and allow it to become a loser. And yesterday, P.J. Walker elevated with the help of Deontay Foreman, Chuba Hubbard, offensive line, defense, total team effort. We lose sight of the fact that football is a total team sport with 22 players regularly contributing in both major phases of the game. Oh, and special teams. So many things affect a win and a loss. So, yeah, I love – people say, what do you root for? I root for a good story. And let me tell you, it's a good story when the top dog is unexpectedly struggling, and it's a good story when the underdog is finding a way to show some bite, Myles.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is, and that's kind of what we're dealing with right now with these Panthers. I think that next game between the Falcons and the Panthers is going to tell us a lot. I mean, a divisional game where you have a Falcons team that's coming off a real bad loss, and that team has developed some good vibes under Arthur Smith with what they've been able to do. I keep using the word vibes today. I don't know what that's about, but they're doing some good things there. And if the Panthers can go and then defeat them, then we're kind of talking about something that's a little bit more interesting. So we'll see what happens over the course of the next week. The quarterback decision there is going to be pretty fascinating too.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.